The Gardens of Stone State Conservation Area is one of the newest additions of land to national parks in Australia. This section of bush is located 3 hours northwest of Sydney, off the back of the Great Dividing Range. Covering over 28,000 hectares, the landscape includes complex networks of pagodas, ancient valleys, and endless sandstone cliffs. This area is home to endangered wildlife and plants, and is the only place in the world where the unique platy pagoda can be found. The area receives only a small percentage of visitors that come to the Greater Blue Mountains region, and yet is host to some of the most spectacular views and rock formations I've seen. Join me as I spend 2 days hiking through the Gardens of Stone.
Sorry, and then we'll turn around and do it the other way, and that's how I'm not going to get the view. You ready? Yep.
You can feel your heart rate. You're on the wrong day. What you will lose. What will you choose? You'll change.
We leave the Blue Mountains and start making our way towards Lithgow. Here, the road turns to dirt, and as we travel along, we get our first glimpse of the rock pagodas that dominate this landscape.
You think you got control, but it's slipping.
Continuing deeper into the bush, it's apparent that the capable four-wheel drive rear end is necessary as the trail grows narrower and more difficult. We leave our car behind and commence our walk along the road into the bush, the air filled with the scent of autumn. A small trail deviating from the road marks our ascent into the wilderness, and we're unsure what to expect over the next couple of kilometres. The trail is less a formal and defined walk, and rather a common route used by bushwalkers seeking to access this part of the wilderness. Luckily for us, the footpad is reasonably distinguishable, and aside from the occasional overhanging vegetation, the walk is mostly a breeze. A short ascent beside a pagoda rewards us with a view of the valley stretching for kilometres. Mostly clear sky with only small patches of cloud cover give us a sign that the weather will be favourable for this trip. From here, we'd walk along the ridge for several kilometres, following the rough trail as it weaves its way towards the escarpment. Continuing deeper into the wilderness, complex networks of rock pagodas begin to appear in front of us. These ancient rock platforms of sandstone, bulging and stepped, are sculpted over tens of thousands of years by the forces of wind and rain. Our path to the other side of the pagoda network lay between these walls of rock, at a small tunnel connecting the two valleys. We walk slowly down the sloped rock before pushing through thick regrowth to reach the tunnel and pass. The short, water-worn tunnel, about 20 metres in length, was first documented as being visited by bushwalkers in 1975. The tunnel gave us a place to sit and rest for a moment, out of the heat of the sun, and to reflect on our journey so far. Tucked in the corner of the tunnel, almost hidden by a sandstone ledge, was a small Tupperware container holding a logbook and several old brochures. Reading the written tales of other bushwalkers was both humbling and inspiring, and Jared added a brief comment from us to the book. The tunnel felt like a portal to prehistoric times, with lush ferns adorning the ground and spectacular sandstone cliffs surrounding us on all sides. We eventually left the refuge of the ancient tunnel and started scrambling up a pagoda on the other side of the pass. As we began to traverse these large pagodas, we marvelled at the intricate ironstone formations that form half the namesake of the national park. These stepped rock formations, with layers jutting out in all sorts of positions, are called platy pagodas. The pagoda's distinct shapes are created by bands of ironstone, which is a type of hardened sandstone laden with minerals that don't erode as fast as regular sandstone does. The result is stacked plates and tongues of ironstone looking out into space. Continuing on from the rock pagodas that separated the escarpment, we gently snaked our way up the ridge, where our heavy breaths and beads of sweat were considered by the valley in front of us as sufficient tribute for endless views. Behold, the second largest canyon in the world, with sandstone cliffs and mountainous gullies stretching as far as the eye can see. Looking down into the valley below, the leaves of the eucalypts form the dominant green colour. Yet, when gazing further into space, the blue haze, courtesy of the densely populated eucalyptus trees, is prominent. Deep into the bush, small piles of smoke are visible, a reminder of the dynamic relationship in Australia between flora and fire. We continued walking along the top of the escarpment, admiring the uninterrupted views of the valleys on either side. Jared and I had no specific place in mind for where we wanted to set up camp along this rocky plateau. Rather, we had two requirements for any potential campsite. Firstly, that we had an absolutely cracking view of the landscape surrounding us. We knew this wouldn't be difficult when in such a breathtaking environment. Secondly, and more importantly, we wanted to camp somewhere on a durable surface, such as a flat section of rock or exposed dirt. The reason for this being due to the numerous rare and threatened plant species that call this unique environment their home, such as the pagoda daisy. The intricate, rocky topography that the networks of pagodas create, of ledges, overhangs, caves, cracks and chasms, provide a complex variety of habitat, moisture, and microclimates, perfect for a huge variety of endangered animals and plants. By choosing to sleep on a rock platform as opposed to the soft grass and fragile vegetation, we can minimise the impact of our human journey through this area. We dump our packs on a rock platform and stand breathless, gazing into the distance. The jewel of the valley, both figuratively and physically, of an isolated sandstone outcrop centered in our view. This rock platform stands proudly above the valley and is seemingly rimmed on all sides by impassable cliff lines. After a quick hydration break, we decided to further explore the landscape to our east. Walking along, we can see hundreds of smooth pagodas in the distance. Where both the smooth style and platy pagodas are visually staggering, it is the platy pagodas that are of international significance, with scientists still seeking to identify the processes that lead to the amazing ironstone shapes that the pagodas form. Although large sections of pagoda country were incorporated into the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area in the year 2000, this was not due to the presence of these pagodas. Rather, the significant eucalyptus diversity of the area was identified as being worthy of international recognition. It was only in 2021, after decades of campaigning and the hard work of many volunteers, that the area that we are in was protected by national parks and was declared a state conservation area. Almost 100 years after conservationist Miles Dunphy identified this area as being worthy of protection, the Australian government officially recognised the scenic, cultural and geoheritage value of these pagoda landscapes. Whilst the recognition of the state conservation area is a great achievement and provides significant protection to the landscape that was not previously offered, it does not mark the end of environmentalist efforts. The designation of a state conservation area as opposed to a national park means that mineral and petroleum exploration and mining may be permitted. The major impact of coal mining on the rock pagodas is subsidence, which is a scientific term for the ground collapsing and sinking. This occurs due to longwall coal mining occurring several hundred metres underground, which can lead to the ground surface dropping by up to 1.5 metres. In environmental scientist Washington and Ray's paper, The Geoheritage and Geomorphology of the Sandstone Pagodas of the Northwestern Blue Mountains region, published in 2011, they identified the following. While pagodas are quite geologically stable under normal conditions, the stresses of subsidence both crack pagodas and cause extensive cliff collapses. These collapses mostly occur along overhanging cliffs, which are often Aboriginal sites. This issue was highlighted at the Airlie Commission of Inquiry in 1992, which investigated the proposal for coal mining of the Mount Airlie Mesa in the then proposed Gardens of Stone National Park. At the time, the Department of Mineral Resources stated that in the Bale-Bone Colliery area that there had been 124 cliff collapses over 2 to 3 years. And whilst in the adjacent Angus Place Colliery area, there were 55 cliff collapses over the same period. Significant cliff collapses have continued since. Now, both the collieries mentioned in this paper are less than 15 kilometres away from where we are currently. For more information on this topic, or to see how you can help, I'll include some links in the description below. Returning to our packs, we crack open a warm one before sitting and simply watching the earth paint its greatest artwork. Being there atop the escarpment, watching the sinking sun ignite the horizon with one of my best mates is truly a magical experience. And as we sat there, I couldn't help but think about my life and the goals I have in front of me. I had my 25th birthday this year, marking a quarter of the way through my expected term of life. Despite this, I couldn't help but think that I haven't even achieved a quarter of what I wanted to. Hell, I haven't even accomplished 10%. Lofty dreams of climbing through the Andes, hiking through Aotearoa, and kayaking the wild rivers of Alaska are still in the front of my mind. I'm grateful for what I have done and the opportunities provided to me, yet nervous at the thought of running out of time. There's a quote I heard somewhere that resonated with me. One day you're 17 and you're planning for someday, and then, quietly, without you ever really noticing, someday is today, and then someday is yesterday, and this is your life. as the sunlight faded away, the wind seemed to pick up in force. Our campsite, whilst perched beautifully on the top of the escarpment, meant that we copped the brunt of the gale with nothing to hide behind. Jared and I hastily got dinner underway before retiring to the warmth of our sleeping bags. We awoke at first light the following day, Jared and I both agreeing that we had an average night's sleep at best. The ice-cold wind continued through the night, and a brief shower at midnight was enough to ensure that we were awake at the deepest part of the darkness. Despite this, we slept in relative luxury compared to what could have been, with a cushiony mat separating us and the cold hard earth, and our hooded sleeping bags allowing us to effectively retreat into a cocoon of warmth. As we rose from our sleeping bags, we marvelled at the pastel colours painted on display in front of us. The early morning sun illuminated the sandstone cliff faces of the escarpment in gorgeous hues of orange and red. Jared got the morning brew underway, and we watched the sun slowly rise above. The warmth of the coffee was a welcome contrast to the freezing wind, and we stood atop the rocky ridge with the most beautiful view from our temporary cafe. Eventually, the sun rose above the surrounding mountains, and the light began to defrost our skin. A quick and nutritious serving of muesli and dehydrated fruit before we put our hiking shoes back on and loaded our packs. The weather was perfect for our walk back. Mostly blue sky, autumn sun, and the cool breeze wicking excess moisture from our bodies. mostly followed the route as we did yesterday, diverging at the pass to walk down a large pagoda. We marvelled at some unique ironstone statues positioned halfway down the rock face, before having a break at the pass to rehydrate. A short walk up the other side and we regained the ridge and the path back to our car. Walking in this landscape and weather was effortless, and although the trail only lasted a few kilometres, could easily have been enjoyed all day. Descending down off the ridge, and we rejoined the road and civilization.